So we are now going to be learning about something called declensions. Now, this is a word you've probably never heard before, so don't worry about it. We're going to be explaining what that means. In chapter 2, we've been talking a lot about verbs, and you saw how those verbs change depending on how you're using them, right? So if I say, I see, how do you say I see? Blepo, how do you say you see? Lep ace. Yeah, so o ace a amen ete use. You should be dreaming that. You should be able to say that in your sleep. Write it down. So that's verbs changing their form depending on what they're doing in the sentence. Now we're going to learn how to do the same thing with nouns. Nouns are going to be changing as well. So I want you to look at this this sentence right here. The sentence reads, "The sister of the kingdom teaches the truth to the church." And I'm only using words that you're going to be learning. So the sister of the kingdom teaches the truth to the church. The subject of this sentence is the sister, but more specifically, the sister of the kingdom. The sister of the kingdom is the subject. What is she doing? That's the verb. She teaches. That's present, active, indicative, teaches. Present tense, happening right now. Active, she is actively doing it. Indicative, I'm describing a real event. So present, active, indicative, teaches. The sister of the kingdom teaches. What does she teach? She's teaching the truth. The truth is the direct object. Who is she teaching the truth to? The church. The church is the indirect object. So this is a little bit of review for anyone who knows English grammar, but for the rest of us, I have a cheat sheet here. So the subject is the main actor in the sentence. That's the person doing the thing, or the thing doing the thing. The verb describes what the subject is doing, and then the direct object receives the action of the verb, answering what or whom. So for example, the sister of the kingdom teaches the truth. The truth is receiving that action, teaches. Does that make sense? So the indirect object then receives the direct object, answering to whom or for whom. So she's teaching the truth. Who is she teaching the truth to? She's teaching it to the church. Any questions with that? This whole lesson is a series of building blocks, so I want to make sure you have that done before we move on. Okay, no questions. All right, so in Greek, we have some fancy terms. Now, these terms are not, we can't equate them exactly with the terms that we use, but they cover some of the same functionality. So the sister, this subject of the sentence, we're going to use this term nominative. Everyone say nominative. 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 That is a case, the nominative case. And it doesn't necessarily mean subject, but it is fulfilling that role of the subject. Now we have of the kingdom. That is in the genitive case. Everyone say genitive. Genitive. Okay, so what's different? We have the sister in the nominative, and we have kingdom in the genitive. How do we know kingdom is in the genitive? Because we put this of the in front of it. That of the is taking kingdom and smushing it right next to sister. Now, sister of the kingdom is now one unit. That genitive case is taking kingdom and attaching it to sister. She's no longer just a sister, she's a sister of the kingdom. And that of the denotes genitive. Any questions? Okay. Teaches. We already know what that is. That's a verb. That's what we were doing the last chapter. Check on learning. Does anybody remember what PAI3S means? Third singular, exactly. Present, active, indicative, third singular. Okay. Now, the truth. The truth is in the accusative case. Okay? So, the sister of the kingdom teaches, and she teaches the direct object, the truth. The truth is the accusative case. Everyone say accusative. 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 Okay. And then the indirect object to the church is in the dative case. Everyone say dative. 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 And we know dative because of this, to the. Usually, dative is always going to be receiving something of a preposition: to the, for the, with the, whatever it may be. So the sister of the kingdom, that's nominative, genitive, teaches the truth, the accusative, to the church, dative. All right, so everyone say nominative, genitive, dative, accusative.
Nominative, genitive, dative, accusative.
Great. I want you to be able to say those 4 words in that order before we move on to the next chapter. Okay, so those are the 4 cases. There's a 5th one, but we'll cover that in a moment. Those are the 4 main cases that we are going to be learning today: nominative, genitive, dative, accusative, and they're going to be denoted as N, G, D, A. Okay. So what do we do with these? Well, like I said, in chapter 2, we saw that verbs are changing their forms. We call that conjugation. But now we're going to see that nouns do the same thing. And the way that the nouns change their forms is they change their forms depending on which one of these cases they fall into. Okay, so I'm on the beginning of page 2 of the handout. So everybody pick up their Greek textbook, Croy, and turn to page 14. If you look at page 14, you see these 3 sections. One says pure alpha, pure eta, and mixed. These are what all the case endings are going to look like. Now, I don't want you to dwell on that too much right now, but just know that these are the case endings in Greek. Now, I've called them out here for the sake of illustration. If you look at the screen again or look at your handout, I've called out some specific endings right here. See me underlining them? These are case endings. I've pulled them out so that you can see them. So let's look at this sentence again. The sister of the kingdom teaches the truth to the church. The sister, nominative, the word is going to end with this eta. Of the kingdom, genitive, it's going to end with this alpha, sigma. Teaches is present active negative third singular. The truth, accusative, is going to end with this alpha, nu. And to the church, dative is going to end with this alpha. And you see this little tick mark underneath it. That's not an accent. That's called a iota subscript. You don't need to know the technical term, but if I blow it up here, you see alpha with this little iota underneath it. That doesn't change the pronunciation at all, but it just shows you that at some point in in the history of the Greek language, they were writing it like this. They stopped pronouncing it, but its presence was important. And so they just started writing it like this to remind you that it's there, but it doesn't change the pronunciation. I know that's a little weird. I didn't make the rules. That's just what happened. So we have alpha with a iota subscript. This is not an accent. This is the letter iota subscript underneath. Sub meaning under, script meaning the letters. Okay, everybody good with that so far? All right, so now what we're going to do is we take these case endings and we stick them to the end of our words. So rather than reading the sentence as, the sister of the kingdom teaches the truth to the church, I'm going to speak a little bit of Greek and English at the same time, just so you can see them in action. So we'll read this as, the siste kingdos teache the truth on the churcha. So because of these case endings, we're now taking out these English words that we need. We're no longer saying to the church, we're saying the church a. We're not saying of the kingdom, we're saying kingdos, right? So we have the siste kingdos. We know that means the sister of the church because this alpha sigma ending is the genitive ending. Remember, and genitive means of the kingdom. Does that make sense? Please ask if you have any questions. Right. So you can't take English words and put Greek endings on them. I've done it anyway. So it shouldn't say kingdomos, or I'm writing kingdos. Just
they take letter Greek.
yes. Yeah. So there's a base form, and then the the ending of the word is going to change. I'll show you the Greek words first, but I just want you to see what they're doing. So the siste kingdos, we're saying this is the nominative ending. This is the genitive ending. So we now read that as the sister of the kingdom. Tiche, so this is our present active indicative third singular ending. The truth on, because this is in the accusative case. So this alpha nu is telling us accusative. And this alpha with the iota subscript is telling us dative. So we're no longer saying to the church, we're saying the churcha. And that alpha iota subscript says to the church. Everybody with me so far? I see some confused faces, so if you have a question.
Is it going to be like, it's not going to be the same? Like when I look at here, pure alpha, pure, should I not look at this right now?
Yeah, I wanted to. That's just where they're found. I've called out some specific ones exactly, just to call your attention to them.
Okay, so that
Yeah.
it won't go these. They'll get mixed in.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's different words decline different ways. Yeah.
Okay.
That word decline means to change the ending of the noun. Yeah.
If you were going to say for the church, it would be a different ending.
So you'd still have it in the dative. Dative by itself means to the church, but there would be another word, a preposition that we would use for the word for. Yeah, that will be its own independent word. But these case endings by themselves carry meaning. In English, we have to put in the word to the church. In Greek, you don't need that word to, you deal with it with the case ending. Yeah, and the case ending by itself would carry that meaning. There's a little more nuance to it than I'm giving it credit for right now. I'm just giving you this basic way to illustrate what this means.
So every time I see alpha sigma, I should know that means of the, it should be in there somewhere. Or is it not that direct?
For right now, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes. That alpha sigma is a genitive ending. Yep. Okay, so I'm going to move on. All right. Because of these case endings or these declension endings, word order in Greek is fluid. So this is something now that you can do in Greek that you cannot do in English, which means as the New Testament authors are going to be playing with word order, they are imparting meaning that English does not capture. Now they try and massage the English, or they might put in a footnote, but this is something the Greek language does that English doesn't do. Because these case endings are at the ends of the words, and because of the case endings, you know what the word is doing in the sentence, I can change the order of the words and still maintain the same meaning. You can't do that in English. In English, you have to say, the sister of the kingdom teaches the truth to the church. I can't change the order. I can a little bit, but it would sound weird, and nobody talks that way, right? You may say to the church, comma, the sister of the kingdom teaches the truth. Or she may say, the sister of the kingdom to the church teaches the truth, or the truth teaches to the church. But that sounds strange. In English, you don't talk that way. In Greek, they talk that way all the time. And what that does is it makes it, it opens this whole new door for poetry. Because if you're trying to make something rhyme, or you're trying to give a certain meter to a sentence, or you're trying to use alliteration, or whatever it may be, well, in English, that word order shackles us. It constrains us. We have to say things in a specific way. But in Greek, since word order doesn't matter, it opens up this whole new avenue to convey artistic flair and meaning. Or if you front load something at the beginning, that gives it extra emphasis. Or Paul does this all the time, where you may be waiting for the specific genitive in order for the sentence to make any sense. And Paul will string you along for 8, 9 words, and it's not until that last word that the whole sentence all of a sudden makes sense. That's a little bit advanced, and we're not getting there yet, but I just want to show you and tell you that what I'm teaching you now, there is this whole level of meaning that you can encode with this. Does that make sense? So any questions there? All right. So we can say the siste kingdos teache the truth on the churcha, or because these endings change, and we can change the word order, we can say the syste kingdos, the truthon, the churcha tiche, or tiche, the syste kingdos, the churcha, the truthon. Means the same thing. The only thing that would be changing is perhaps the emphasis. If I were to put the church at the beginning, I'm trying to bold or underline that, bring your attention to that first. Or perhaps I want to string you along the whole sentence until I use this word teaches in order to invoke some kind of effect. Okay, any questions? All right. So just as in chapter 2, we learned that the first person singular, that's that omega ending, that O, that's how words will always appear in a dictionary or a lexicon. That's the fancy Greek word for dictionary. In the same way, whenever we look at nouns, they're going to be in the nominative case. Every time we look them up, they're going to be, you'll see them listed in the nominative case. That's called the lexical form. Okay. All right, so I want to take just a brief moment to talk about the definite article. So does anyone remember what the definite article is? It's the word the, right? This is the book. This isn't just a book. This is the book. That's a book, that's a book, that's a book, but this is the book. That's a definite article. A book, a book, a book, that's an indefinite article. Do you understand the difference?
Yeah.
Definite is specific, and then a is not specific. It just is any book. So in chapter 5, we're going to get that definite article more. We're looking at it in a little bit more detail, but you're going to be exposed to it before then. So I want you to look at page 11 in Zhang's Reader. In page 11. Because we're not getting the definite article in any detail until chapter 5, he's giving you this handy little chart at the bottom just to see it. Because the definite article is changing in the same way that these nouns are changing. So let me pull this example up here. Now, all of these words that you see on page 11 or on the screen, that's all the same word. That's just the word the. But this word the is changing depending on what the case ending is. So let me draw a comparison right here. It's a little bit easier than it may look initially. So let's look at this word here, phone. I've got in the nominative, it has this nominative ending, genitive ending, dative ending, accusative ending, and then this other case that we'll get to in a moment. You see that and then I'll compare that then to the definite article, this definite article here. Do they look similar? We've got the genitive ending with eta sigma. Genitive here, eta sigma. We've got this dative, this eta iota subscript. We've got this dative here, eta iota subscript. Do you see how they're essentially the same? So that should just go to show that if you're learning one, you're learning the other. Okay. Does that make sense? All right, so let's continue talking through, that's not the sheet I wanted. It's lesson plan. All right, so that's the definite article. You'll be spending more time with that later. I just wanted to call your attention to it now, since you'll see it. So let's go back to our favorite sentence. The sister of the kingdom teaches the truth to the church. So let's not use English words now, let's use Greek words. Everybody point to a woman and say, hey Adelphi.
Hey, Adelphi.
Hey Adelphi. That means sister. So the word for brother is adelphos. Everyone familiar with the city Philadelphia? And we know it as the city of brotherly love. Philos means love, and then Adelphos means brother. Philadelphia is the city of brotherly love. And the word for sister, Adelphe, is just the feminine version of Adelphos. So, hey Adelphe means the sister, and it's in the nominative. Okay, everyone point upwards and say, Tes basileas. That means of the kingdom. Remember, so it has this this genitive ending, which means of the. We've got that definite article here. It also has a genitive ending. And so the definite article is changing along with the word that it appears with. And that means of the kingdom. You might be familiar with the word basilica or something like that. That's where the word basileus comes from. So, He Adelphe, tes basileas. Everyone do that again. Point to a woman, then point up. He Adelphe, tes basileas. That's the sister of the kingdom. And then didaske, that's probably a word you've seen 100 times the past couple of weeks. What does that mean? Teaches. Okay, so say, He Adelphe, tes basileas, didaske. So that's the sister of the kingdom teaches. All right, now I have some Bibles on the table. Somebody at the table pick up the Bible, hold it up, and say, Tein aletheon. Hand it to somebody else. Now you hold it up and say, Tein aletheon. And now say, aletheia. That would be the nominative version of it. Say it again, aletheia. Hand it to somebody else. Now you do the same thing. Aletheia. Tein aletheon. All right, has everyone had a chance to do that? I'm just trying to sear this into your brain. Now, last person, aletheia. It means truth. This Bible is truth. Aletheia. Tein aletheon would be the accusative version of that. Okay? So now everybody say, ha biblias he aletheia estin. Right. What does that mean? The Bible is the truth. Ha biblias tein alethean estin. All right. So now I want you to sweep your finger across the room, point to everybody, and say te ecclesia. That means the church. If you've heard the word ecclesiastical, that's where we get that term. So te ecclesia. So that is in the dative. How do we know it's in the dative? Well, we see that iota subscript. So you may have noticed, I was holding off until now, but you may have noticed that sometimes a genitive appears with this alpha sigma, and sometimes it may appear with this with an eta sigma. So let's look back at this chart. This was on page, what was that on? Yeah, 13 or 14 in your book here. 11, okay. No, page 14. Page 14 in Croy. So you have a couple words. If the word ends with an alpha, we're calling that a pure alpha word. This is the word hora, means hour. You see in the nominative case, it has an alpha. The genitive case, alpha sigma. The dative case, alpha iota subscript. Accusative case, alpha nu. You look at that second word, phone, that means sound. It's where we get the word phone or phonetic or telephone or whatever. Phone, it's ending with an eta. And so now your nominative is just in the eta. Genitive is eta sigma rather than alpha sigma. Dative, eta iota subscript. And then accusative, eta nu. Is everyone reading along with me? So you can see the similarities that the nominative is just ending with the alpha over there with the word hora, or it's ending with a eta with the word phone. But with the genitive, you see it ending with a sigma in both cases. With the dative, you see that iota subscript ending for both of them. And with the accusative, you see that nu ending, even if it's an alpha nu or an eta nu. And we've got, sometimes they mix them up. There's some words Like doxa means glory. That's in that third section. You can see alpha, but then it switches to an eta sigma, eta iota subscript, alpha nu. So as you read these over and over again, right now, as you're just kind of learning it and you see them, you're going to have to kind of stop, think about it. But after you see them over and over again, you'll see this word ending with a nu, and you'll be like, oh, that's accusative. Or you'll see that iota subscript, and you're like, that's definitely dative. Okay? I know you're just learning it now, but as you read it, it's going to become second nature. So let's go back to this sentence then. Or actually, let me pause there. Are there any questions? Anyone lost? Confused? Yeah, go for it. That's okay.
Okay, so the sister of the kingdom,
Mm-hmm.
the AS doesn't necessarily, there also has to be that TNS in there. Like,
Oh yeah, so the tau eta sigma, that's the definite article. The of the kingdom.
okay, so I was thinking that the AS at the end of Basilica would be, and I know I said that wrong, would tell me of the kingdom, but TNS is going to tell me of the kingdom.
They both tell you that.
They
Yeah.
both, so it's double.
Yeah, so it's the if it was just of a kingdom, it would be basileas, or if it's of the kingdom, tes basileas. That's the definite article in the beginning.
Okay, so that's meaning a specific kingdom.
Yeah,
Okay.
the kingdom.
Okay.
Yeah, in every word in here has a definite article, but words don't need definite articles to make them indefinite. Yeah. That's a good observation. Okay, so we have point to a woman again, say, Hey Adelphi, tes basileas, didaske, hold up a Bible or point to the Bible, tein aletheon, te ecclesia. Okay. Hey Adelphi, tes basileas, didaske, tein aletheon, te ecclesia. Anyone? No? Okay. You've got it printed out in front of you. We'll put it here on the screen. Now we've got the whole sentence. He Adelphi tes basileas didaske tein aletheon te ecclesia. Tes basileas didaske tein aletheon te ecclesia. Okay, does anybody feel confident they want to try it by themselves? Oh yeah, go for it.
Didaske ten aletheon te ecclesia.
Perfect. Exactly. So remember what we said, word order is fluid. So the way I said it now, just then, is a very English word order. So the sister of the kingdom teaches the truth to the church. But we can change that word order because of those case endings, and I've color-coded it to make it a little bit easier for you. Because of those case endings, we can change it all around, and it still maintains the same meaning. Te ecclesia he adelphi tes basileas, tein aletheon didaske. Or didaske he adelphi tes basileas, te ecclesia tein aletheon. Or he adelphi tes basileas, tein aletheon, te ecclesia didaske. Or tein aletheon, he adelphi tes basileas, te ecclesia didaske. And now I'm going to totally rock your world. So until then, until now, we've just seen he adelphi tes basileas, and we've treated that's the subject. You can even split the subject. Tes basileas didaske he adelphi. And it'll look weird as you see it now because we don't do that in English at all. And now, what is he doing, splitting this yellow with a green? But I won't say you see this all the time. This is a little bit more rare, but you definitely see this as well. And it'll throw you when you first see it, but it'll begin to make sense. Any questions with that? All right. So how do we memorize this? I'm going to help you right now. repeat after me. Nominative, genitive, dative, accusative. Let's say it again. Nominative, genitive, dative, accusative. Nominative, genitive, dative, accusative. Nominative, genitive, dative, accusative. Always remember those 4 words in that order. Now repeat after me. Bird, of a bird, to a bird, I see a bird. So bird, of a bird, to a bird, I see a bird. Nominative, genitive, dative, accusative. Bird, of a bird, to a bird, I see a bird. If you can do that, you're not going to forget what these mean. Just remember, bird, of a bird, to a bird, I see a bird. Nominative, genitive, dative, accusative. So that's the trick. That's the trick to remember these. Okay, now I said there was a fifth case called the vocative. This one is I was saving this until now just because it's a little bit different, but it's essentially what I would use with a word independently. Bird or a hey, something like that. Mike or hey Mike. That's the vocative case. And the vocative looks exactly like the nominative. So just know that the vocative and the nominative look the same. They don't differ at all. They are just used slightly differently. The vocative is if you're just kind of shouting out something or pointing to something, a single word sentence. Because it behaves a little bit differently than the nominative, that's why it's been split out. But there's some textbooks that don't even mention it. Our textbooks does, so I wanted to bring it up right now. But just know that the vocative and the nominative look exactly the same. They just behave differently. Yeah, go for it.
So just thinking I know in Spanish there's a command or there's you can do an exclamation.
Mm-hmm.
Could be either then?
Say that again?
I'm just thinking of Spanish, just there's a command, if I'm gonna say, give me something, if I'm gonna be more exclamatory.
Yeah.
Is it an exclamation versus a command, or could it be both? Or is that not
So a command would be with a verb, right? You're telling someone to do a specific thing.
Yeah.
These apply to nouns.
Got it.
Yeah. The example I have here, I've just kind of put bird with an exclamation point, as if you're pointing, you're saying bird. But if you were to say, I see a bird, then that's the accusative case. Yeah. So nominative, genitive, dative, accusative. Bird, of a bird, to a bird, I see a bird. If you can do that, you're not going to forget what these words mean. So just, I remember when I first learned Greek, I had to go through that in my head to know what it was. But after you just read these sentences over and over again for the next couple of weeks, in the same way you just read that group of monologues those dialogues for chapter 2, just if you see it over and over and over again, you're going to intuitively know what this means. Okay, so how do we remember the forms of these? Let's go again to Croy, page 14. That's this book, Croy, page 14. Well, I'm looking at pure alpha now. That's that word hora, which means what? Does anyone remember? It's like hour. So it kind of looks the same. We've got that omega that has that rough breathing mark. Remember, you aspirate that with an H sound. And then the rho alpha, hora, means hour. When Jesus says, my hour has not yet come, this is the word he's using. So let's just look at those endings. Let's not pronounce the whole word, but just a, as, a, an. Everyone say that. On the screen and in your handout, I've phonetically spelled it out. A, as, a, an. So as you're going through in your head, you're saying nominative, genitive, dative, accusative, bird, of a bird, to a bird, I see a bird, a, as, a, an. And then if you look at the pure eta, it's very similar. A, ace, a, ain. And then with the mixed, ace, a, on. So that's all singular. But now we also have plural. However, whether or not you're in a pure alpha, hora, or you're in a pure eta, phone, or you're in a mixed, doxa, those plurals are always the same. I own, ice, us. I own, ice, us. When I took Greek the first time, my professor was talking to me about it was like some U.S. Special Forces guy that was in his class, and as he was trying to remember it, he would say, "I own ISIS" or "I own ISIS." Everyone remember the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria. I own ISIS. It's a little bit different pronunciation. This is "I own ISIS," but if that helps you remember, go ahead and use it. I own ISIS. Right, so that's the same, those are the same cases, nominative, genitive, dative, and accusative, but rather than saying the sister of the kingdom, we would be saying the sisters of the kingdoms, if that makes sense. Okay? And then as you're memorizing these forms and you're going through saying nominative, genitive, dative, accusative, I don't want you to say nominative, genitive, dative, accusative, vocative. That's going to throw you off. I don't want you to say I own, ice, us, I. Just keep it to the fore and know that the vocative and the nominative are exactly the same. Okay. That is all of the material that I'm going to present. If you would like, we can jump right into the Zhang readings and we can just start reading those a little bit together. Before we do that, one last time, does anyone have any questions? Yeah, go for it.
So the different article, we're using singular. If we were talking about a brother of the king, we'll switch over to all these masculine ones.
Yes. However, all of your readings right now are going to have feminine.
So we're going to stay. Okay.
Yeah, we only learn the feminine ones right now.
Okay.
So I guess I could have mentioned this. We only learned the feminine declension. There's two others. There's masculine and there's also neuter, which is gender neutral. Just like in Spanish or French or any of these other languages, most nouns are gendered. We just learned all of the feminine ones. I own, isos, or us, on. That was just the first declension. As we learn the second and the third, then we'll get into some different forms. But that's all we were doing for today.